Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to today's webinar. This is Channel Vision editor Gerald Baldino here, and today we're very excited to feature Snom for a presentation on providing flexible and reliable communication solutions during COVID-19 and how Snom can help. Joining us is Snom Inside Sales Manager Sarah Boucher and Sales Engineer Simon Bradbrook. Just a reminder to please stay tuned for a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can submit them through the Q&A portal located at the bottom of the Zoom platform. At this point, I'd like to turn the webinar over to Sarah to begin. Sarah?
Thank you, Gerald. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. My name is Sarah Boucher. I've been with Snom now for just about 6 years. I'm happy to have Simon on the line with me as well. So a little background, Snom was first in VoIP. We were founded in 1997, and we did introduce the first SIP phone, the Snom 100, in the year 2000. By 2001, the Snom 100 was the first mass-produced SIP phone in the world. We do offer a high-quality, feature-rich phone, which is engineered in Berlin, Germany. We also have our own acoustic laboratory in Berlin as well. VTech was looking to get into the SIP market, and with Snom's sophisticated SIP stack and reputation, it was a great match for a partnership. Since VTech acquired Snom, we have had many positive changes. VTech is a vertically integrated organization, so this allows us to have control over the product from the manufacturing stage all the way to distribution. We do have a large warehouse in San Antonio, Texas. This allows us to get product out very quickly. We are a one-stop shop from DESK and DECT solutions to paging, wireless conferencing, Keyline emulation. You get everything all under one roof. We have always offered a 2-year warranty on all of our desk phones. With the acquisition, we were able to go ahead and increase our warranty up to 3 years, and that includes our DECT handsets as well now, as well as conferencing and our paging device. We also offer advanced replacement, so you don't have to, you have that peace of mind for 3 years on the phone, and if something does happen, we will ship one out right away, so you don't have to wait to go through that RMA process. With that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Simon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. So we're just going to get into our line of desk phones that we currently have available. We've got on the screen now, we've got the entry-level D120. It's basic. It's a basic phone for a lobby or a common area or even a classroom. It's a simple 2-line phone with 2 PFKs. The speed on the dual Ethernet ports is 10 by 100. And there is support also for an RJ9 headset support. So we get into our color desk phones. We have a range of 3 of these, straight from the entry-level D717 to the mid-range D735 and the executive-level D785. The major difference between here or the entry-level phone only supports 6 SIP accounts, but the D735 and D85 both support 12 SIP accounts. Feature functionality across all 3 devices is pretty much identical. We have XML browsing for any customers that actually want to pump advertising information across the screen. Programmable function keys, there's USB support, and dedicated headset key. One of the unique features on these phones is we have a solid-state hook switch. What this means is that there are no moving parts on the hook switch. There's basically some rubber sensors when you hang up and disconnect the phone call. So because there's no moving parts, there's less that can actually break during the call. Unique features with the D735. We have a proximity sensor. What this is basically while the phone is in idle mode, the screen can go to sleep, but as your hand moves close to the phone, that will then come to life and all your PFKs will actually be displayed. I will tell you that this is actually you can actually enable or disable this during provisioning. So it's a personal choice about whether you want to keep that or not. And the D785 has its own built-in sidecar, if you like. It has a separate display at the bottom of the phone, which gives you 6 PFK appearances and 4 pages of those. So yeah, at the moment, our sidecars, we have the D7, which is a basic monochrome screen. It's got 18 function keys, and it's connected through the USB port on the side of the phones. Each phone can support up to 3 sidecars. The first one can actually be powered directly from the phone through a PoE switch. The second 2 actually require additional AC power. Coming out in the first quarter of next year, 2021, hopefully COVID-free, we're going to have our new color sidecar, which is basically going to be a 16 multi-key programmable keys on each screen, 3 pages of screens. So it's actually going to end up with 48 keys. Again, as with the D7, you can daisy chain 3 of these units together. And again, the first one is powered by the USB port on the side of the phones, and the remaining 2 have to be powered by separate AC units. As I discussed earlier on, we have support for USB ports on the side of each of the models. And what this comes with, it gives you support for a DECT dongle. What the DECT dongle can do is, as well as supporting a DECT headset, it could also support the pictured C52 expansion speaker. Where this is going to fit in nicely is you might have an executive in an office that actually currently has both a desk phone and a conference phone. With this, you could basically get 2 for the price of 1. So they put the speaker's phone on their desk at the side of the office, and because it's DECT technology, there's no wiring. It's basically the signal is over the air. There's also the Wi-Fi dongle. Again, it's a small USB dongle, fits into the side of each of the phones, and it's actually perfect for that office where there's the one corner desk where they can't drop a LAN drop to, or even at the moment, which is the popular thing, is setting up people from working from home. Now we're going to get into our conference solutions. And the first conference phone that we're going to show here is the C520. Now, one of the unique features and one of our trademark features that we have with all of our conference phones is the DECT removable microphones. This is perfect because it gets you in a situation where you've probably all been in a conference room where you're all leaning over the table trying to make yourselves heard. With these microphones being able to be removed from the desk, you can actually place them around the table. There's no wiring because it's DECT technology straight back to the base. One thing I would say, I would never recommend you carry these microphones around because the mics are actually very sensitive and they'll pick up any kind of sound as you're carrying it around. But if you place them on the table, they'll automatically converge back to the base unit so you get that perfect voice quality. Also available with this, because you've got the DECT technology built into the C520, are the C52 expansion speakers. You can actually pair 3 of these to the C520 conference unit. So when you're in that larger conference room and you need everybody to get involved and everybody to be heard, this is the perfect solution for that. New conference phone that we are just releasing is the C620 wireless SIP conference phone. This, like the C520, again, is DECT technology, but you've got the C620 base now, so the conference phone itself is actually a DECT slave back to that base. So you can now actually set that base up in the corner of the office and then place the conference phone actually onto the table. There's often cases where you go into installs and they've got a nice oak table, a nice marble table. They don't want to be drilling holes into this. So there's often cables running across the top of it. This is actually that perfect solution again that stops you having to do that. Again, we've got the trademark removable microphones with this, and also this actually supports 2 of the C52 expansion speakers. The reason this is dropped down is now because the expansion speakers are registering to something that is already a DECT slave to that main unit. Now we're going to get onto our mobility and Keyline solutions. Now, we have a basic small business entry-level solution that fits into that standard cordless solution that's out there at the moment. It's like a Panasonic or a Yealink. But there's some unique features with this because this system can actually work in a dual modes of operation. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go forward. But the base unit itself, which is the brains of the operation, is going to support 8 SIP accounts. One of the unique things about this is we'll actually support 6 concurrent calls. I think you'll find that most units out there at the moment will actually only support 2 per handset. We've also got a built-in multicast paging. So when you're working in specific modes, it allows a user to just go into the menu and they can page directly across the office. There's privacy mode. When you're working in Keyline, you can ask people to join calls instantly, or you could just basically block anybody from joining that call. And there's also, we've got a very basic level of device management where we can do a reboot by a remote XML push. The handsets themselves, DECT slaves back to the base again. They all look like handsets, but they're not. They literally are just slaves back to the base. They all come battery powered. You get 7 days of standby time with 9 hours of talk time. Now, as I said, I'm going to explain a little bit about the differences between the multi-line mode and the Keyline mode. Multi-line mode is basically where each handset has its own account. So each handset has its own extension. Where this differentiates from other solutions, such as the Panasonic that I referred to, is that if you can see on the screen there's the 4 line keys. Now, these line keys are actually provisionable to be actual line appearances. So what does this give you? Like with your current SIP desk phone, where you've got multiple line appearances, you actually get this with the cordless device. Now, I know for a fact there are no other manufacturers out there that do this with the cordless devices. One of the other things that this gives you, as I said to you before, the base station can support 6 concurrent calls. Well, this actually translates to the handset as well. So you could actually, on one handset, have 6 calls. You could have 1 active and 5 of them on hold. All this is done because of the fact that it's easy to transition the calls because you've got that line appearance key that you don't get with your standard handset. And then the second mode of operation, as I discussed before, is the Keyline mode. So what we do here is we basically emulate an old-fashioned key system. The way this works is you'll have one hosted account coming into the M100 base unit itself, and all the handsets share that one hosted account. So what happens is when there's an incoming call coming in on that account, all of the handsets get both visually and audibly alerted. The lamps that you see, the line keys that you see on display there actually start to flash, indicating which line that call is coming in on. Now, this is perfect for that restaurant or boutique small office solution where you're not actually tying anybody to a voicemail and you just need all the staff to be mobile but have access to calls as they come in. You simply select the line that the call's coming in. That indicates to everybody that somebody is on line 1, for example. To transition the call, much like an old-fashioned key system, all you're going to do is press hold, and you can either shout across the office telling somebody to pick up line 1, or as before, as I said, you've got the built-in multicast paging. So from the menu, you can go to that and you can page across the office or even into a warehouse facility to say there's a call for somebody on line 1. Going back to what we discussed before in one of the previous slides as well, we talked about the privacy and barging mode. With the Keyline, when the Keyline is in operation, when a call comes in and somebody's active on, say, line 1, they could actually say to somebody, will you join this call? And then that person can go to any phone in the facility, press line 1, and they will join that call. Now, alternately, we've got privacy mode. If you think about like when you're in a doctor's office, a doctor's not going to want somebody just barging into the call they're currently on. So from the handset, when the calls come in, you can actually enable privacy, which prevents anybody from barging in on that call. So give you an example here about some vertical deployments that we had. We've recently deployed to a 400-plus chain across the US of a restaurant chain. Each restaurant had 1 base unit and 3 handsets, and they used that method, as I said, of the one shared account coming in. a testament for this country customer about how happy they were actually with the product. We also have the PA1 device. Now with COVID, they'd changed their mode of operation. But what they were doing was, from the takeout perspective, they were actually setting up the paging unit on the outside of the restaurant and using the phones to actually page through for when orders were coming in. Now we're going to get into our other DECT solutions, which is more in the MultiCell. We've got a variety of range. We've got the M325. This is just a basic single cell solution. As I discussed before, this is the one of those units where you'd register each handset to the base, and each handset's going to have its own line coming in. The 325 is a combination of the M300 base unit with the M25 basic handset. We then move up into our multi-cell solutions, the M700. Now this is scalable up to 253 base stations, and that's 1,000 handsets across those 253 base stations. And now we've got the big brother, which was just released, which is the M900, and this is scalable up to 1,000 base stations and 4,000 handsets. Now these solutions are ideal for that enterprise solution, where they need all the staff to be mobile. But basically, it gives you that coverage. There's none of those usual, it's a cordless solution, but it's not like you're jumping on a Wi-Fi network where you're running the risk of security slips or even voice quality slips. So we get into the handsets that are supported on the M325, M700, and the M900. As you can see the range of handsets. Now, the unique thing about this, all these handsets will work on all three of those units that I just discussed. You've got the M25, which is a very basic handset. The M65, which is it's a more advanced, it's got a nicer feel to it, a more professional feel, but basically it just comes with a vibration clip and an illuminated keypad. We then get into the M70, M80, and M85. These are all ruggedized handsets. They're all Bluetooth enabled, so they compare with headsets instantly. Illuminated keypads, and they've all got an alarm button for man down, basically, which so if you're in a warehouse scenario, you press that button, it instantly sends out an alarm so that people can come find that person that's down. You then get the M90 handset. Now, again, this is also ruggedized. This is also Bluetooth enabled. This also has the man down key, and it's also the illuminated key. But the big differentiator on this is that this handset is actually built with antibacterial plastic. So it's perfect for that hospital solution where you need your staff to be mobile, but they also need something clean with them. The way we do this is that when these phones are built, there's you inject an ingredient into the mold, and this ingredient basically makes the plastic antibacterial. If you looked at it under a microscope, you would see thousands of tiny ridges, and what essentially happens is that the bacteria hits it, but there's nothing to grab onto, so it literally just falls off. Now, as I did allude before, these are multi-cell solutions, scalable, perfect for that large installation. And how you make this successful is basically the site survey. That's going to be critical with any wireless installation, because essentially what you're doing here is building your own DECT mesh network. To help you do this properly, built into each one of the handsets, even the basic model handset, we basically have a tool, some software that's going to measure the distance and the frequency power on each one of the base stations. So as you're doing your site survey and you're planning out where you're going to put these base stations, the handset's there to help you measure that, so that you can set up you're basically putting the foundation in there to set the installation up to be successful. This kind of software normally comes with software tools that normally cost in the range of about $30,000. Things like a spectrum analyzer to measure those the frequency in the air. This is all built into the handsets. And then we get into broadcasting and paging. I alluded to this before. This is being used by one of the SMB customers that installed the M100. It's basically the Snom PA1 public address system. It's created for large and small PA systems. It can be used as an external ringer. It can also be used for door opening, visual indication. It's basic multicast relay. The units can support up to 4 SIP accounts. And as I said, it's used for like broadcasting live. It can be used as amplifiers, and you can be streaming music through this as well. Also, just got a list here of some of the interop partners we have, both backbone and service providers. Obviously, one of the things that we do with Snom products is whenever they're built, whenever they're new, we go out and we make sure we get all the backbone providers to certify the products, such as your BroadSofts, Metaswitch, NetSapiens, to name but a few of the big ones. And then from there, we then start to deal with the service providers on an individual basis.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Simon. So real quick here, I just want to go over our partner program. This is something we put in place a few years ago, and it's worked out really well. We don't allow just anyone to sell our product. We do ask that everyone fill out a channel partner application. We want to make sure that the mutual business needs are aligned for everyone. So we ask everyone to adhere to our MAP policy, which keeps margins high for all. You go right to that website right there, fill out the application. It's real quick, it's all digital. Agree to adhere to the MAP policy, and you'll typically get a response within 24 hours, sometimes as quickly as an hour. Once you're approved, you're able to go through any of our authorized distribution partners, and you can purchase NFR units at a rather large discount so that you can go ahead and test and show the product to your customers. So another benefit of being an authorized Snom reseller is that your end users are going to be eligible to purchase Snom products and receive a discount on each one for a minimum of 5 and maximum of 200. So this right here will give you an example. So if you have a customer, even if they're on POTS and have analog phones and they're upgrading, that still counts. We don't actually need the phones. We just need to know which models they are replacing. So for example, if they get 5 D785s, not only are they going to get a great competitive price, you're going to get your high margins, and they're also going to get $100 back. And of course, this is a mix and match. It doesn't have to be, 5 of the same exact model. So mix and match of any of our phones. If they have Snom phones and they wanted to upgrade, as long as they purchased them a year ago, they still qualify. So it's a nice added benefit, again, for being an authorized partner with us. If they purchase from someone who is not an authorized partner, they will not be eligible for the discount. So it goes through a third party, very easy. It details exactly what they need, and they'll get a Visa gift card via email. As you can see with our conference phones, really nice rebate there of $35. And so this is actually a separate program that we have now, and it's for those customers who have those Polycom 2W conference phones. For each one that they replace with the C620, they'll receive a $100 rebate. So again, just a nice added incentive to go ahead and get them, into the Snom, get them into SIP, save them some money, get them off POTS, and they get $100 back per. I'm just going to go over this real quick. It goes through a third party, our leasing, through CSC leasing. So if you have a customer who needs to get a large amount of phones at once, they can go ahead and go right through CSC leasing. The details for that are on our webpage, snomamericas.com, and then also, of course, CSC's website. So this right here, it just kind of gives you an example. So a low cost entry to go ahead and get all those phones purchased at once. And I believe that is all that I have. So here's our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're happy to help. I handle the new partner program. So if you have any questions regarding that and our units, feel free to reach out to me. We do have outside sales reps as well. Typically, they'd be traveling a lot, so I'd kind of be their backup. But if you do work with one of our outside reps and you're not able to get a hold of them, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to help.
Okay, fantastic. I think we can open the floor up for questions at this point. Thank you both for the great presentation.
Thank you, Gerald.
To kick things off, do you support zero-touch provisioning?
Yes, we do. So basically, we have our own redirect server. It's a Snom SRAP service. This is actually set up to be a basic redirect server, so it points straight to a provisioning server. Not only that, you can actually store actual configuration files per device on the service as well. We could actually send out a link if anybody's interested to where you can register for your SRAPs account.
Fantastic. And just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them through the Q&A portal at the bottom of the platform here. Moving on, can you explain XML browsing for us?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so what it is XML browsing. We can point the phone. We've got an action URL feature, which allows us when the phone's in different call states, we can actually identify a specific URL where we want to see in action. What this allows us to do is when a phone's in idle mode, it allows us to hit an HTTP server where we can actually receive and notify and stream information directly across the screen. I mean, it could be something as basic as the local weather, or it could be like a stock ticker for an investment house or something like that.
Fantastic. Now, for DECT, how far away from the base station are you able to roam? I mean, this seems like a great solution for businesses that need a social distance right now, right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's say clear day is 500 feet, so it gives you about a 2,000 foot square radius around the base itself. Now, I say clear day because obviously when you go into buildings, that can be reduced. So it's around about 350 feet direct line of sight to the base.
Fantastic. So plenty of time to move around as needed. Now, does the client need to ship the trade-in devices back to Snom to get a rebate?
I'll take that one. So no, we actually do not need you to send us the phones. We simply need to know which model we're replacing. Make it very easy for everyone.
Fantastic, fantastic. Regarding PA1, does the PA1 support PoE?
Yes, it does. Sorry, I had to think about that one for a second.
Okay, excellent. Another question for you. Are the desk phones wall mountable?
Yes, they are actually. When you take the standing bracket, the stand off of the back for sitting on the desk set, there's actually the holes are already placed there so you can slot them straight onto a wall mount. Yeah.
Great, great. And last question for you here. Are your phones compatible with secure networks and do they support SRTP?
Yes, they do. Yeah. All the phones are actually used to support SRTP by default. So what happens is in the SIP world, as you negotiate in a codec with the far end, if they choose that they want to use SRTP, then the phone automatically switches into that mode. The phones also support as well mutual-based, MAC-based authentication for the certificates for registration as well.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Sarah. I think that should wrap up today's webinar. Also, a huge thank you to the whole team over at Snom and for all of you for attending. To access this webinar on demand, please head over to channelvisionmag.com/webinars and also keep an eye out for a follow-up email from Channel Vision. Thanks. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.